So you don't have to be a pro to make money in Escape from Tarkov. Hey guys, it's Nate. Today I'm just going to be giving you guys an overall guide of how to use your Scav most efficiently to make money in Escape from Tarkov. So before we get into any gameplay, I always kind of like to break down what exactly that we're learning about so you kind of have a base understanding of what we're doing. So Scavs are used as an opportunity for a player to get items and get into a raid without having to risk their own items on the line. It's nice as well because if you have particular quests on your PMC that need items to be found in raid, you can do this with your Scav as long as you memorize what items that you need before you go into raid. Now, because you are a player Scav and you're running around the map, not every Scav that you see in the game is going to be a player Scav. Some of the Scavs that you'll find in the maps are just NPCs, so they're not controlled by anybody. They're just bots that really roam one section. Sometimes they'll loot tiny stuff, but they are not active players. Now the Scavs just operate a little bit differently compared to your PMCs. So your PMCs can basically attack anything. It's not a big deal. They don't take anything that's called negative karma. Now Scavs, on the other hand, have some rules and guidelines that they need to follow, and it falls under something that's called karma. Now karma is entirely up for you to follow. You do not have to follow any of these rules if you don't want to. That's why Tarkov can be a little bit unforgiving, because you might be playing as a Scav and another Scav comes up to you and will shoot you in the head point blank, and there's really nothing you could have done about it. So typically as a player Scav, if you decide to shoot and kill other player Scavs, you take negative 0.1 karma. Now although that happens with player Scavs in particular, there's some exceptions here or there to the rules. One of those rules being, if you help to kill a Scav that is considered a traitor and has killed other Scavs, you will actually get positive karma instead of taking negative karma if they weren't to kill anybody. Okay, so we know about increasing and decreasing our karma, right? But what's the whole point of karma? What does karma actually even do? So the karma system in Tarkov, it actually does a couple of different things. So one, it'll make your prices cheaper if you're taking the paid extract as a PMC, but on a much bigger scale, it can actually give you a lot more higher gear that you spawn in with automatically versus finding it, on the ground or in the map. So if you hold high positive karma, instead of spawning in with, like, let's say a Taz and some P.A.K.A. armor, you might spawn in with a Giselle and an LPS that has crazy good ammo, a BT. And on a much more scientific scale, if you get max karma, which is currently 6.0, you have immunity to Scav bosses, and Scav bosses are considered to be very strong NPC character. There's only one that's located on each map, but if you end up killing that Scav boss, you get loads of good loot. But that's only if you're playing as a PMC. If you play as a Scav, you can kind of use the Scav bosses to help you. So if there's PMCs that are coming by and let's say you don't have a great gun, you can try to coax them to fight you with the Scav bosses and they'll try to help defend you. As a Scav, you typically don't want to kill Scav bosses because you'll get negative rep. But in the instance of a PMC, you would want to go try to take down a Scav boss because they'll give you way better loot. Now here's a big chart of everything that I'm talking about. There's certain actions that give you increased karma on not even just your Scav but also your PMC. So taking things like the paid extract or the Scav and PMC extract will actually give the PMC increase in their Scav karma even though they aren't playing as a Scav. Now Scavs aren't technically the only faction that exists under the name Scav. There are more advanced Scavs that are called Scav Raiders, and even a more mysterious kind of Scav which are called cultists, but those only will come under very specific circumstances. So just for this video we're going to be focusing on just Scavs and player Scavs, and we'll be making more videos on the cultists, on the scav raiders, scav bosses, and whatnot. So make sure to subscribe so you can stay tuned for those. Okay, so now that we know that the purpose and the different actions of a scav, let's see how the scav actually plays. Before we jump straight in, ideally you want to play in a map that you are very familiar with. If you're not very familiar with any map so far, let's just open up a tool that's called Map Genie. And Map Genie is basically going to give you insight on where to extract, where stashes are located, where player spawns are at. So if you're not familiar with anything, hop on Map Genie, and today specifically we're going to be looking at customs. Alright guys, so here I've got customs pulled up on Map Genie. The filters that I'm doing on the left, I first go to hide all, and then the ones that I'm turning on are the cache underneath loot. Underneath locations, we want location and extraction turned on. So typically in customs, this is where I normally spawn as the scav. I usually spawn somewhere near Crossroads on this road here, in the storage units, either next to Big Red or in this trailer park. So we're just gonna assume that you are spawning from this position. Let's say you spawn on the other side of the map and you're over here by administration gate or factory far corner next to ZB11. It's fine. You can still use this same route and just use it backwards. So instead of starting over by Big Red, you'll just do the same route, and you'll just do everything backwards. So once you get good enough at this, you can just do it the same route from both different ways. And there will be a bunch of different branching off points here, so don't feel like you're limited. If you want to make your own route, definitely, you know, hop on Map Genie and you can hit all these stashes here, like in Power Station above the rocks. That's like another alternative path. But for right now, we're just going to be looking at spawning in Big Red, and here's exactly how our route's going to work. So in this route specifically, we spawn back here, and we are going to cross the land bridge right here in the middle, and we are going to cross over to RUAF. So right before you get to RUAF, there's going to be two bushes here. One's going to be underneath this pipe here, and then one's going to be in this bush across to the other pipe. So just go look at next to these two pipes. One's going to be a blue container, which is this guy here, and then the other guy is going to be one of these hidden stashes. So the blue stashes are going to be easily recognizable, whereas these hidden stashes or the ground stashes are going to be a lot harder to see. So they're going to have leaves and wood on them. It's going to be like a square on the ground. But an easy way to find these is if you run into a bush or you run where you think it's at, you'll hear like a block of wood underneath your foot, like you're stepping on wood. And if you know that you're stepping on wood, you know that you've stepped over the cache. You can just look right at your feet and open it up. So once we hit these two stashes, we're going to cross over this hole in the wall. We're going to check out Repair Shop and Crack House. And Repair Shop and Crack House are going to be kind of like your two money makers. There's going to be a stash right outside of Repair Shop, and Crack House is going to have a lot of your medical items like Salewas, CMS kits, and you might also have a chance at getting intelligence in here as well. So if you need something for your hideout, or you need even something that's like, you know, your first Salewas, Crack House is a very good place to try to check for those, even though it is highly populated. So a lot of PMCs get here, but if you spawn in late into a scav raid, which you normally will, that's where you're going to want to run. If it's, you know, you spawn in and there's 30 minutes left, it's kind of dicey to check out that area. So you might want to go look at some other things first and then round back to Crack House to check it out. So after we check out Repair Shop and Crack House, we are going to hug this little corner here and hit this stash that's in front of this big tree here, right in front of these railroad tracks. There's going to be 2 dead scavs that are on this railroad track we're going to loot. We're going to check out this barrel stash in there. make our way to Old Gas Station. So if you are a scav spawning on that big red side, you're most likely going to have this Old Gas Station gate extract. If you want to extract here, you know, by absolutely all means. If you didn't get a whole lot of loot, you can keep following this path, and this path will take you to another set of exits: Scav checkpoint, admin gate, and factory far corner, and you can extract there. So let's say we're continuing down the path, right? We go past Old Gas Station, go underneath this bridge. We're gonna go to a place that's called Warehouse 4. This is where the power is. So if you're a PMC and you're trying to get ZB13, which is under Fortress, power will be kind of tucked back in this corner. You can flip that switch on and go underneath Fortress. Warehouse 4 as a scav is going to be right in front of this yellow forklift here. So if you have this as an extract, you can take this as well, or you can keep on moving. So underneath this Warehouse 4 is going to be some pretty good areas to loot as well. And once we go from Warehouse 4, we are going to basically cross over here to this barrel cache. This one's really easy to see. It's in a big pit in the ground. And we're going to head our way over to ZB12. Now, ZB12 is an optional extract for PMCs. The only caveat with this is that it needs to have the light on outside, otherwise they cannot use it. But there's going to be a dead body and a box down there. It's usually got some pretty good grenades or ammo, and sometimes you'll get some pretty good valuables down there too. So once we hit ZB12, we are going to cross over to what they call on this is Repair Shop. It's most commonly known as Streamer Loot. There's a little area that's up top that's got a green screen in it, and that's a very good spot to find GPUs. If you're looking for any computer parts or any toolboxes, like anything that's like wrenches, hammers, stuff like that, bulb cutters. There's a whole bunch of toolboxes that are in there as well. Now, once you hit Repair Shop, it's up to you about which extraction that you want to take. There's Factory Far Corner, Admin Gate, and Scav Checkpoint, all within, you know, a couple feet from each other. So there's one little stash here that's tucked away next to a building called Glass. We call this Glass, or next to ZB11. And then a ground stash back in Factory Far Corner. So this is going to be the covered up little wood and grass stash that's going to be hidden away a little bit. Sometimes you run into situations like this too, where you have a ground stash or a ground cache that's right here, and it's right next to your extract. So how do you loot this without accidentally extracting at the same time? And honestly, what you have to do is open up the stash. You have to see really fast if there's an item in it. If there is an item in it that you have yet to discover, back off of it, and then the timer will reset, and then you can enter back in and then loot it. If you try to loot the items in one go, you're not going to be able to, and basically whatever, you know, is in your hands you'll drop unless you get it in your backpack quick enough. Alright guys, so right now I'm actually playing in an offline raid, so I'm just going to be using this as a means to show you exactly where to go without you know, having to worry about scavs or PMCs or any of that. And this is actually really good for you guys to do as well if you're not really confident with the route, or you just want to practice it a few times. Hop in an offline raid and, you know, just run through everything. There will be loot, but you won't be able to take any of it out, but it gives you an idea of what spawns where, and you know, where exactly you can open things up at. Alright guys, so we actually spawned on the opposite side. No worries, we could just do the same route that we're gonna run. We're just gonna do it backwards, right? So we're gonna start with this this ground cache right here. This is a perfect example to show what the ground stash is gonna look like. So you know, just start looting this guy, and we'll start making our way towards streamer loot in that building. If you want to hit the stash over here, you totally can. And sometimes, depending on your PMC or your scav, you might spawn on this side anyways. So if you spawn over towards Factory Far Corner or near Glass, you can hit the stash right here, and we'll basically get your run or your raid started out right, you know. So after we hit that, we're going to be running past our little ZB11 here, and looting next to an inside glass. So this is a stash that's located right next to glass. It's kind of tucked away in this little pipe here. Perfect. Look at that. An SJ6, US $90. Mustache, which is going to be perfect if you guys are running Kappa. If you're trying to get the collector, that is one of the items that you need. Once you loot that stash, you go into glass. This doesn't typically have any particularly crazy items, so a lot of times people can just, you know, skip over this if you don't really need anything specific. But if you need gas analyzers, there's some toolboxes that spawn in here, one right here and one in the far back. So this is really good for gas analyzers. There's a few computers here. I've never found GPUs here. I've heard of people that have said that, you know, they can find some GPUs inside the computers or USBs. I've only found the really low grade stuff like the PSUs, the power supply units, and, you know, capacitors and stuff like that. So if you need those for any type of quest, by all means, you know, this is an easy place to get it. Not a lot of people come up here unless they're going next to ZB11 to extract. Alright, so once we looted all of this, we are going to go down and out to our left. This is actually pretty hidden. I don't see people hit these too often. The dead scav on the couch is a pretty common one. Look at that, we got a red flare. But the other guy that we're going to be looking at are these two big green crates that spawn on these giant two, I don't even know what you would call them, big like copper machines. So typically a lot of weapon parts will spawn in this, but I've seen a lot of armor that can spawn in there too, or even full weapons. So even though you might get some sights or whatever, I've seen whole guns that will spawn in there that might come in handy when you're running scavs. Look at that, we got a whole AKM SN that we can load up on there. And now this is really good because we do have a bunch of these little attachments. We need to figure out like what can combine with what, just so we can get the most bang for our buck for weapon attachments, but also take up the fewest amount of slots. So the more that I can be connecting parts together is perfect, because it'll take up less space and it'll also give you more money for whatever you're selling. This car here will sometimes have serve kits or cigarettes, so really it's kind of meds and kind of miscellaneous items. Back of this car, I've seen USBs spawn in here and GPUs, so if you need any more computer parts, this is, you know, another alternative place that you can find them. It's pretty rare that they'll spawn there, but it is possible. So now we're going to be heading into, this is streamer room here, and streamer room and toilet head are going to have the two kind of better high tier loot spawns. So these shelves back along, you know, underneath streamer loot, they'll have really good weapon parts. They'll have miscellaneous box of ammo that's pretty good, or if you need, like, this is a corrugated hose. Look, there's even a sledgehammer underneath. We'll take that sledgehammer with us. It's not gonna spawn there great all the time. It's just that sometimes you can occasionally find some pretty high tier stuff. Alright, so now we are going to be heading towards streamer loot. So if you are looting in streamer loot here, be careful, because across the way here, sometimes there'll be a sniper scav on this building. And there's been times where we've ran into here and, you know, guys will get sniped at while they're in this little back closet. So make sure to take them out if you are looting this room. So we got a graphics card here. That's actually huge. We got a power cord if you need that for, you know, any of your hideout needs or crafting. Now we've got duffel bags, and duffel bags, to be honest, are just random. You know, they can hold a bunch of different high-end stuff, or they can just hold something that's very little. It's going to be pretty random about what really spawns in duffel bags, but it's really good because, you know, sometimes you'll be looting through it and find, you know, a whole GPU, or you'll find a LEDX in there that's just hanging out. So always search duffel bags. Alright, so we've searched this part of streamer loot, but there's a coat here that I like to check sometimes every now and then. It'll have some euros or USDs, and then plenty of toolboxes here. So if you need gas analyzers, or this is the thermometer, you know, they've got a bunch of those kind of more toolkit stuff that's back here. You know, plenty of tape, or, you know, screws, bolts, things like that. There's a med kit back here as well. We got some syringes, pretty good. And we also have some e-motors. Now, I know that there's a lot of the times like containers that you search, but loot can also just spawn loose in rooms too. So make sure to look around the room and look on shelves, because there will actually be items that will spawn, you know, on different shelves as well. So now that we've looted streamer loot, now we're gonna go across and we're gonna check out toilet head. This first room on the left can actually be pretty deceiving. Sometimes it'll have really good bitcoins or gold chains that'll spawn on this couch. So you want to get your face in the couch, and what you'll see, like if just gonna drop this and use this as an example, when you get close to an item, right, you'll start to see that little dot in the center screen, and it'll start to get brighter and brighter once you get to an item, and once you are on it, you'll be able to pick it up. But with Tarkov, things can be really, really small. So if something like a bullet gets dropped there, you really have to, you know, look at that perception bubble that pops up right in the middle to help you identify these smaller items like bitcoins or gold chains that are tucked underneath furniture or couches. Look at that RBPSP1 key. That's sick. So this is going to be for reserve. So anything that is like a purple key is usually going to be pretty expensive. This room here is going to have a lot of your gun parts and mechanical bits. So there'll be a lot of tools in here, and also, you know, gun pieces. Anything that's a silencer too is also generally going to be pretty good money. Okay, so now we're at the point where we've got some items on our person and we need to start discarding stuff. So what we really want to do is we want to keep a high price per slot. And so basically that means these items are, you know, worth different slots, right? So this sledgehammer, right, is worth X amount of money. But to be honest, you know, a lot of these lower, you know, 2 or 1 slot items might beat out this price. So this takes up 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 slots, but these guys are only taking up 2 slots and are probably worth just as much. So I need to, you know, be smart with the amount of items that you're keeping in your bag and what you need for quests versus like what you just need just to sell. So if you just, you know, have basic tools, start pitching those. You want to fill up your bag by the end of the raid, but you want to start swapping out items for better and better values. So that way when you play through, your end, you know, money is going to be a lot greater. So this is toilet head room, right? There's going to be items that spawn pretty much behind toilet head. It'll be on that ground, and sometimes toilet head will even have on his hand a little gold watch, so you can get some pretty good you know, high tier kind of gold jewelry and stuff, gold chains, gold watches back there. So now that we've looted all of this, we are going to go straight up and left, and we are going to hit ZB12 and then hit a stash and make our way towards warehouse 4 or power. All right, so this is going to be ZB12, and you can see that light is on. You'll, you know, see it on the ground here, but you can also look up there and check it. If that light is on, that means PMCs are able to extract. So it might be a little bit dangerous, but I don't see too many PMCs take ZB12. Nice, we got a silver badge, great loot, and this wooden ammo box typically has either good grenades or it's got pretty decent ammo. We've got some AP20s here. If you look on that ballistics chart, that AP-20 slug is going to be pretty huge. It penetrates through all the way through level 5 armor. So here's going to be our other stash. This is a really good example of what those blue stashes are going to look like, the blue containers. As you can see here, I'm using an Anna M1. If I wasn't using this Anna M1 and I had an empty armor slot, toss that guy on. I think you really have to think about how many items that you're carrying even on your person. If I had an empty slot for this pistol, right, and I didn't have this, I would try to use this 19 or 11 or shrimp and replace it, so that way you're not taking up slots on your backpack or your rig. You're using it on your actual person to save space. So once we've hit up both of those, this warehouse can generally sometimes have pretty good loot. Nothing crazy. I haven't found anything really huge in here besides like gas analyzers, if you need gas analyzers for your starter quest. But this guy here will typically have some pretty good weapon parts, and then over against this wall there will be some shelves, and these shelves you can get a lot of mechanical items, Geiger counters, things like that. There's also a weapon case here, but I don't ever see anything too crazy spawn in this. You know, by all means, if you want to check it out, having stuff like you know, lasers, it's useful, but they're not really that expensive. Okay, so now this area is going to be warehouse 4. So if you were to extract through warehouse 4 in your top right, you would sit right here, and right here is where the extract would take you. If you're doing this route as a PMC and you need ZB13 open, you can flip this switch on here, and this will turn on the power underneath the fortress in the middle so you can extract. There's some good weapon items here every now and then. I think this is a silencer here. Yep, so we got some silencers and little muzzle flashes. So a lot of these guys will have pretty good parts if you need silencers or scopes or things like that. Now down here is where you start to get to some higher tier loot. There's a weapons case. Lots of good stuff actually spawn in the weapons case. But what's even better is right next to it in this area here, you'll see bitcoins or gold chains, or, you know, a bunch of different kind of high tier jewelry that will spawn back there. We got some vodka here. We could probably drop those scissors for this vodka. And then always we have a random duffel bag that can sometimes give you some pretty good stuff. Not today. Now here we get a lot of med items as well. So here we've got a grizzly kit and we've got some bandages. So let's just check and see if we can swap out some stuff for a grizzly. So look at that, we've got an O scope as well. Those are super hard to come across. Even some P.A.C.A. armor here. Again, if you weren't rocking any armor, you could pick up that P.A.C.A. armor and you know, add a little bit of durability to your scav. Here we've got some more weapon parts. There's even going to be a black little cube box. I've seen lots of things spawn in this. I've seen, you know, armor, I've seen guns, I've seen weapon parts, so that one's pretty diverse as well. Now we are heading our way towards Old Gas, going underneath the bridge, and here is two other extracts. You either have Old Gas Station Gate, or if you are a PMC, you can also extract through Old Gas inside. So if you were a PMC, you would go inside here. This table right here can usually spawn some pretty insane gear. It's rare that it ever does. It's very rare. But if you're lucky enough to come across some labs cards or even a Willer's wallet on here, I hit last wipe. This is, you know, where you're gonna find the rare loot stuff here, and don't be afraid to get your nose in these folders, because sometimes you'll get some loot that spawns half inside of stuff like this guy here. So once you go down those stairs, if you're a PMC to extract, you can also take this if you're a Scav and take Old Gas Station Gate, extract there. But there's some pretty good random loot spawns here. This will typically spawn you medical items, but this is the tree that's known as the Giving Tree. And lots of people will spawn with random sort of gear hidden underneath this tree, and it ranges pretty far. So keep your eyes glued to the bottom of that tree. Got some Jack Daniel's whiskey. We got another helmet, which is great. Okay, so the fortress is going to be located in front of us. I don't ever really mess with fortress. You can if you want. You know that it's a dead raid and there's not a lot of people. But Reshala can spawn in there, the Scav boss for customs. So if it starts to get dicey, like you could walk in there and just die because, you know, Reshala's got a bunch of bodyguards. And so if you get too close to Scav bosses as a Scav or a PMC, they will open fire unless you hit that max Scav karma. Once you hit that max Scav karma, you can hang out by them and won't give a care in the world. Okay, so this is a very important note here. If you go past this dead Scav here on the wall, you will get shot at with snipers. So the best way that I know how to not pass this point is I go from that stash there, and then I look for the body against the wall. Once I hit the body against the wall, I know I can't pass this line in the tracks. And there's another dead Scav we can go to. I go diagonal. I look right at this bush here, run straight past it, and there'll be another dead Scav here. Do not pass that dead Scav. If you go forward out into this section here, you will get shot at. So now we're at another hidden ground stash here. Open this bad boy up, and looks like we've got some higher tier armor. So if we didn't have the Anna M1, if we compare up the two, this is a level 4 steel, this is level 4 ceramic, and the difference between the two is that one, the Anna M1 is going to give me extra storage, but this armor here is ceramic, and any armor that's ceramic is typically harder to repair. So sometimes you want to compare items up like armor or guns, depending on how easy they can be repaired, or if it's like an item that, you know, it shoots a specific type of ammo. You probably want to prioritize those items. So now we are at Crack House. This is Crack House here. So we've got 2 CMS kits, which is great. Typically when you spawn in as a Scav, you're not really going to have medical supplies on you. So I always try to pick up my meds as I'm running through. So if I don't have a CMS, if I don't have a bandage, you know, I'll try to keep a little bit of everything. This Grizzly kit actually keeps a pretty good chunk. It covers fractures, heavy bleeds, light bleeds, and contusions. So you want to keep, you know, big heal items on you, especially when you're a Scav, because you're not going to spawn in with any of those. Alright, we've got nothing off the dead Scav, but let's test our luck in this. Duct tape, nothing good. We got a jar of mayo here. A good thing to keep track of too is your hydration and energy. Especially when you're carrying a lot of loot, you're going to burn through that stuff pretty fast, especially when you're moving such a big distance and you're sprinting all the time. So make sure to pop some food while you're moving along. I don't really want to do the mayo because although it gives me a lot of energy, it zaps my hydration to 100%. So now we're in this hallway here. Sometimes there's some looting spots that you're not going to be able to see, and you need to butt yourself up like this dead Scav that's in this doorway here. So you can loot this guy, and this guy will typically have some pretty good stuff. Look at that, a gazelle. We are going to... Now, this is pretty difficult because there's a lot of items now, and it gets sort of overwhelming about what you should keep and what you should get rid of. Boom, there we go. Now, keep in mind that when we have something big like this in our backpack, it's going to be very, very heavy. So We're at 41.2 out of 60, and sometimes when you carry enough stuff on you, your character won't actually start regenning energy. You need to, you know, keep in mind of how much weight that you've got on one person at one time. Normally there's some intelligence that will spawn on these shelves, so keep your eyes out on both of the shelves as well, so it's not just one or the other. So check the whole room. Sometimes you'll see some loose loot that'll spawn on these floors here as well. These filing cabinets are really good for USBs. We got a health resort key. Oh, I'm talking a lot, man. Okay. Alright, so a lot of these areas will have really big med items. If you still need your Solewas, there's a Solewa. And back here as well, you'll have some pretty big medical items too. You got some bandages. Sometimes CMS kits, survival kits, or the serve kits will spawn there too. Now we're heading towards a repair station, and repair station we'll have some pretty good stuff on the inside, but the big stash that you want is going to be located right here in this tire. So if you loot this is going to be pretty random about what's in it. So nothing crazy. Some syringes or metal parts if you need it for your hideout. Here's a duffel bag. It's pretty random about what's in here. Some matches, good for your hideout. And then this is going to be your Factory 13 exit. So if you have Factory 13 on your map, you'll take that as well. And right through here is going to be a hole in the wall with Dead Scav in the middle. So Dead Scav will have the unknown key on it, which is needed for a quest right here. But it'll also have some random items on it from time to time as well. This is also a really good section to look out for Scavs. There will be plenty of Scavs roaming this area, and if you need a bigger backpack or a bigger rig as a Scav, you can usually pick one up here. Like I said before about the Scav karma, it's up to you about whether or not you want to kill a Scav and get that negative Scav karma for better gear. Just know if you do kill a Scav as a Scav, everybody in the game is also going to target you. So be really cautious about when you decide to kill Scavs, if you decide to kill Scavs. Alright, so this is going to be our RUAF exit. This is going to be our land bridge, and where we spawn back here for Big Red. Alright, so this is crossing land bridge right there, and there's going to be two railroad extracts. One's going to be right here, and one's going to be to the right. One of them is going to be railroad to Tarkov and railroad to port, I believe. I always get the two mixed up. I'll label them correctly and show you on the map exactly where those are at. Alright, here's our Big Red. Nothing really big in there besides a few duffel bags. This is another really good area to look for hard drives, for USB hard drives. There is another duffel bag here as well. T-plug, nothing crazy. Weapons case here. I haven't really been getting too many. Oh, look at that, a VSS. Look at that, dude. It's crazy because you'll never know what you get in these boxes unless you loot them. So just a word to the wise, always loot any of those containers, even if you think that there's going to be nothing crazy in them. So if you look at my energy right there at the bottom, I was super low on energy, found some milk, dropped an item so that way I can swap out the milk here. So now we've got about 5 minutes left. You could loot the storage containers, but that's just getting sort of greedy. There's you know, not that much time left in raid. We have about 4 minutes left. So once we get all of our loot here, we are going to head for an extract that's called Crossroads. Crossroads is going to be located directly across from here. It's a giant blue gate, and you'll butt yourself right up against the door. Now, because I'm so heavy, I'm sitting at about 43 kilograms. It's going to be really energy draining, and you really have to be cautious about, you know, how you move and when you sprint and when you don't. If you're looking in the bottom left at the energy, I'm even losing energy just by walking. So normally you wouldn't lose energy while walking, but when I sprint, it definitely goes down fast and it's hard to recharge. So just kind of keep that in mind. The more that you loot, the heavier you're gonna be. All right, so here's our extract right there. What I'm gonna do to calculate how much money we've actually earned, I'm going to take a picture here, take a screenshot. So now that we've got a screenshot saved, I'm going to tally up all of the money that we've made based off of like the base price of these items, and then we can see how much that we made. Okay guys, so this is what I'm going to be doing. I took all of the items on the left side that was on my character, and I'm going to use a resource that's called Tarkov-market.com, and this will basically, you type in any item and it'll give you the price of it. So let's take our other gun that we had in raid, which was an AKM SN. So if we look at this, it'll tell you the price of what it is on the flea market. And the flea market is more of like a player trading market. That is something that we'll have a completely different video on. If you're under level 15, you're only going to be selling to traders. If you're over level 15, you can sell on something called the flea and potentially make a little bit more money. So if you have a AKMSN and you were to sell it on the flea the last 24 hours, it's been selling for about 40k. So because we can't sell it on the flea for 40,000, we're going to be selling it to our next highest trader, which is Mechanic, because he sells all the weapons. So you get a whole 16,224 rubles from him. So I'm going to go through this chart now and add up all the items that we have. You know, just keep in mind that I didn't take every item. I just took a good majority of them. So you're probably going to make a little bit more if you look at verbatim every single item. But right now I'm just going to go through and figure out our total here of what we would sell it to only traders. All right, folks, so basically after adding everything up, this is just the selling to traders and not even the whole lump sum of everything that we sold. We're sitting at approximately 713,344 rubles, which is not freaking bad. So just to kind of reiterate everything, you don't need to be a pro in order to make a lot of money in Tarkov. You just need to know where to look. And like I said, this was, you know, in an offline raid, and we did end up looting quite a bit. And when you normally run a scav, you're going to run, you know, in a shorter amount of time, you know, you're closer to like 15-20 minutes. So any of those other extracts that I showed you guys are some other places that you can, you know, stop the run and pick up at various points throughout the route. You don't have to run the entire thing. Let's say you just need a quick 200,000 or 300,000. Well, you can only just run one portion of that route, get in, get out, and do it really fast. You know, the key to making a whole lot is just by playing a lot and a lot more. So, you know, we made 700,000 in one raid, but now we have to wait for that cooldown. So some things that can help you. You can even scav faster than you normally would by upgrading that intelligence center in the hideout. So the faster that you upgrade that intelligence center, the more time will be taken off for that cooldown timer. So I think the first level 1, you get 15% off that scav cooldown timer, and another 20% off. So in total, 35% off of the time. So realistically, by the time you finish selling everything, your scav should be then back up, ready to go, and you can run another one and just keep the cycle going until you make a lot of money. All right, so this isn't, like I said, this isn't the only map that you need to do this on. You can do this on any sort of map. And I'm going to link a video I did for a buddy on woods that he kind of walked through the same exact thing. He shows you exactly which stashes to go to, what to check out on woods. So let's say you're getting your butt kicked on customs, or customs is just being a little too hard. No worries, you got another map that you can do it on, and that'll be in the description. So yeah, that'll be it. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. You guys have been just outstanding on the last guide, and hopefully this one has helped you just as much. If you guys could like, subscribe, and I'll try to pump out as many helpful guides as I can for any Tarkov players, whether if you're new or if you're very experienced. I want to keep pumping out information so that way it can help you be a little bit better Tarkov player.